Hi guys, and welcome back to the podcast. Things are going to be changing if you guys have been listening to this podcast, but I'm very, very excited about it because I have downloads that I receive all freaking day long. What's more important is getting out what I need to say. I record these podcast episodes whenever I get hit with like the divine inspiration coming right through me, and I have so much to tell you guys and so much to just share in this podcast episode. If you guys struggle with insecurity, confidence, you're a people pleaser, you're a woman and you've been insecure, all of these things, I really, really want to share this with you. And I really do believe that after you listen to this episode, however long it's going to be, you will leave feeling empowered and feeling excited to actually do the work on yourself. Before I even get into these stories and get into exactly what I want to say here, I think that when you jump into spirituality, a lot of us, hopefully not now because like content is changing. A lot of people are, evolving out of these belief systems. And I really believe that when I jumped into spirituality, I thought that, fear is bad, anxiety is bad, all of these things are bad. When in reality, lower vibrational emotions, right? It doesn't mean that they're bad. What's more important is that we feel these feelings and we allow ourselves to feel these feelings, but we know how to transmute them. And so it's really important to take your power back from these things. So just because I've been on my spiritual journey for 6 years, 7 years now, doesn't mean that I don't feel fear anymore, okay? So the goal when you're healing yourself and you're expanding and you're shifting out of your belief systems that were limiting you and confining you and keeping you in your comfort zone where you're not actually experiencing the things you want to experience, you're attracting the same kinds of relationships, friends, money. You feel like you have this calling, like this bigger calling on your life, and you tap into this version of you that is confident, is outgoing, wears what they want to wear, says what they want to say, is uncomfortable and stands up for themselves in these moments, right? When I was a people pleaser, I was so insecure. I would literally take any kind of mistreatment or anything because I fawned to the fear. I felt fear when I wanted to speak up for myself or say the word no or reject a man. I always fawned. I always allowed people to take advantage of me and walk all over me because I didn't have this strength and this backbone within myself to stand up for myself. So spiritual evolution and development isn't getting to this place where you're super, super nice and like you don't have any opinions about anything and you just treat everybody with kindness all the time. Obviously that is the goal. However, we can't deny and ignore the fact that we live in this world and not everybody has these intentions, that we need to develop this strength and this resilience and this backbone, but also allow ourselves to be who we really are. And when I was a people pleaser, I genuinely masked myself and I suppressed what I wanted to say and who I really was. And like, even just like clothing, I felt like I had to dress like all the other girls in college. I felt like I had to fit in. And I think that this is something that is pressed on us as children, like fitting in and, oh, my kid doesn't fit in, as if it's a bad thing, when in reality, you are authentic, and being authentic means that you can't put yourself in a box. No one can replicate you. No one can be just like you. And you honor yourself and love yourself that much that you allow yourself to be seen and express yourself and be who you really are. So back to the spiritual conversation. I truly believe that it's not about not feeling these feelings anymore. Like if you are measuring right now your spiritual growth and your evolution and how much you've shifted and transformed as you've been working on yourself by, oh, I don't feel fear anymore, or I don't feel sad anymore, I don't feel anxious anymore, like we're going to continue feeling these feelings. And what changes isn't the fact, like the absence of these feelings. What changes is how you navigate yourself through them. If you allow fear to keep you in your comfort zone when you know that the fear is only just coming up to let you know, like, hey, there's an unknown on the other side of this. You're about to do something, say something, make a decision that it seems scary right now just because you don't know what's on the other side of that. But imagine as like a people pleaser, listening to the fear, taking that as, oh, this is wrong for me, or, oh, I have fear, so this means that I shouldn't be doing this, right? Or this fear is telling me that I'm really not this strong, or I really won't be this successful, or I'm crazy, right? So can you see, like, even just me talking about this, how our decisions can change and how that can change the trajectory of our life based on whether or not we are fawning to these emotions or calling our power back from them, okay? So back to the whole fear conversation. I want to share a story with you because this was my biggest fear when I had my first spiritual awakening. This was kind of like a self-realization that I had. And I share this all the time, but I'll never stop talking about this because it is so true. And I know so many of you listening to this right now feel the same way. When I was the most like traumatized, unhealed version of me, I was insecure. I was not confident in myself. I basically abandoned every aspect of myself because I learned so many times through like childhood experiences and being in school and being bullied and just growing up with other women, right? I feel like I can speak about that and women because grade school, middle school, high school is rough for women, especially because everyone's changing, physically, and everybody is trying to fit in and keep up with the Joneses and be all up in the trends and everything. And it can make you feel like if you're not that girl, you're not, you have your own hobbies, your own talents, your own interests, you have even just personality traits, right? It's almost like we start to subconsciously look at other women or other girls growing up or even in college, and we feel like, oh, I'm not like them. Or we see all these women that seemingly seem the same. And if you're not like that or you don't relate, you in your head take that as, oh, there's something wrong with me, or oh, I'm weird, or, I'm not going to be accepted as who I am. So what we do is we start to mask ourselves. And we start to become extremely insecure. We start to overanalyze every single thing that we do, everything we wear, all the choices we make. We might even make, decisions based on what our parents want for us. And what happens is this is slowly building a life for yourself that leaves you in the cold. You're basically placing everybody else's wants and needs and expectations of you ahead and above who you really are. You're basically saying, you know what? I'll just, basically abandon myself and throw everything that's authentic about me out the window because I would rather fit in. And in order to fit in, I have to change who I am, right? So I want to share a story with you because I just got back actually from a bachelorette trip. We went to Miami. It was my best friend from college's bachelorette trip, and it was so fun. And one thing that I noticed is that some of these girls I haven't met before. I've heard about them. They're beautiful, amazing women. And some I know, were friends with us in college. And I was basically a junior or senior in college when I started to have these realizations, and I started to really be like, wow, I'm changing and morphing very slowly into someone that I don't recognize. This version of me isn't who I am. I realized how insecure I was. I realized how codependent I was. I realized how much I was people pleasing because I went through a lot of trauma as a child, and I basically took away from that I only feel valued and loved when I'm a certain way. When I look a certain way, when I'm successful, when my grades are really high, when I pack so much shit onto my plate and I can't even handle it all, but everyone around me is so proud of me and oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing, I needed validation, I needed love, and I never knew how to give it to myself. I didn't have any great examples of women that, stood in their power and genuinely loved who they are, and were courageous and brave enough to be authentic. I genuinely didn't have an example of that. And so I started to have these realizations, and I started to really feel like, wow, I know who I really am. I've always known it deep down, but I've dimmed my light for so many freaking years out of survival, out of the need to protect myself because I was bullied, because I was constantly rejected by men. All of these experiences, even just rejected by career opportunities and jobs, and, being rejected when I auditioned for a middle school play, right? All of these things I absorbed as I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not lovable this way, I'm too weird, whatever it may be. And so I realized I was masking myself. I felt so miserable and so not fulfilled because of how insecure I was and how much I was dishonoring myself and allowing myself to dim my light. It's you lose yourself and you lose who you really are. And I laugh when I say that kind of because we really never lose who we really are. It's just buried. It's just buried underneath all this masking and these subconscious limiting beliefs. And this idea of like, I genuinely feel like I'm not enough as who I am. Now, in college, a lot of women, or at least my friends, were also insecure. So during this time when I was realizing how insecure I was and like how much I really did want to work on myself, because I always tapped into this version of myself that was outgoing, that would command attention, that would speak in front of an audience or give a presentation or lead a meeting, right? Like whatever it may be, and wore what she wanted to wear and walked into a room. Like my boyfriend's family is a massive Italian family. And when I first met him and I was going through this transformation, I was scared to even I got anxiety pulling up to my boyfriend's house because I knew there were so many people in there and they're loud and they're outgoing and they're fun. And like, I just felt so insecure that when I walked into the room, I would kind of be overwhelmed and I would feel just so insecure with all these eyes on me and all of these things. And so as I'm realizing, like, the company that I was keeping at the time, which I still love, I love these women, it's nothing against these women, but this is just kind of what was going on within my head, is I was like realizing this about myself and realizing this because I kept tapping into that future version of me. I would get visions of her. She was vibrant, she was laughing, she was so not afraid to draw some boundaries and say what she wanted to say, but also the first to welcome anybody into the group or into the home or introduce people together or go on stage and dance or sing a song. Like, she was so free emotionally, so free within herself, and genuinely loved who she was, that she honored that and allowed herself to express that. Because we all are authentic. We all have this ability. We were all born exactly as who we are. But once we grow up, our minds are formed. We start to realize like societal norms and expectations or familial expectations. And we start to really kind of pick and choose what parts of us are worthy of being seen and which ones aren't. And so I realized during this time that all the women around me also felt the same way about themselves. And I was like, okay, so I'm seeing this. I know that I'm not alone in this, but at the same time, I like sat there and I remember sitting in my really outdated college house and sitting there thinking to myself, if I ever get blessed and have a daughter one day, I'd be fucking damned if I feel this way about myself. I really sat there and made this promise to myself, like, we're going to rewrite this. We're going to rewrite and really work on this relationship with ourselves, because I see my future self. I know that's who I am. And I know that since I'm even thinking about this right now, and since I'm able to tap into that vision of my future self, I know that this is something I'm meant to overcome. I know that I can transmute this pain into power and confidence and beauty. And I was like, my biggest motivator was this fear. I used the fear of being 30 years old. At the time I was like 20, 21. And I was like, my biggest fear right now is opening my eyes at 30 years old and thinking and still feeling this way about myself, still dimming my light, still not allowing myself to be seen, still taking bullshit from other people, letting people walk all over me, giving people my money and time and all this stuff, because instead of giving it to myself. Like, I knew that I could change so much in my life just by loving myself deeper and more and standing up for myself. I let people, men, like so many people, even like authority figures, doctors, like whoever it may be, mechanics, right, walk all over me because I never had that backbone. I was a fawner, I was a people pleaser, and this is honestly a trauma response, right? Like, I went through so much trauma. And I learned like, oh, I can control people's perception of me if I'm like this, or I can make people happy with me or change their emotional state if I help them. If I go out of my way and do this for someone, I know that I'm going to receive that validation, or that, oh my God, I love you, thank you so much. And like, I'm going to feel seen. When in reality, the whole time, instead of people pleasing and losing and draining my energy, I could pour all of that into myself and learn how to let myself be seen and validate myself and love myself and honor myself and express myself. And I have done that. And so I use that fear. My biggest fear was allowing 9 years or whatever it may be, 10 years, a decade to go by, and waking up and still feeling like nothing has changed, still feeling like I still feel this way about myself. Like I was like, I know I'm young right now and I have so much time, but at the same time, the only thing that is finite in this world is time. Like we really don't have that much time. So I was just thinking to myself, like I made this vow, like this promise to myself where it's like, I will never turn my back on myself ever again. And it's essentially years of programming that I had to rewrite, a lot of reparenting, a lot of crying and meditation. There was a lot of like painful moments that we experience when we heal, but that's the point, is we're allowing ourselves to feel it so that we can heal it. So I essentially used fear as a motivator. And I used that feeling of like, oh my gosh, like I felt like a pit in my stomach. I was like, nothing changes if nothing changes. Like I really will be so disappointed if I have even a son, like even if I have any child in my adult years and I feel this way about myself, because I started to also recognize at this time the generational patterns and the things that I absorbed from my parents, the subconscious programmings, the belief systems, and just the expectations that my parents had, like some traditional values and things like that I personally have learned that I don't agree with and I don't want to like repeat down the line for my children. And so I really sat there with this epiphany, and I was like, I'm rewriting all of this. Like if I have a daughter one day, I will show her, and I want to be that living, breathing example that I don't even need to say it. She just sees how I love myself. She sees that I'm confident. She sees that I don't conform or fawn or let people take advantage of me. And I feel like this is what's going on with women right now. And I'm so here for it. So what's so interesting about this is that obviously I'm 26 right now, almost 27. And so I had this whole promise and vow and like epiphany with myself, 5-6 years ago at this point. And I have become that version of me that I've seen in my head. I did it. I did the transformation. I no longer people please. I'm so freaking free in my mind, body, and spirit. I have rekindled this relationship with my body, even like bodily insecurity, confidence. I've practiced setting boundaries. I've practiced having the hard conversations. I've practiced saying the word no. And it feels so good, because what happens is you're left with so much more energy. You pour into yourself. And this is the thing, is like, as an insecure woman, it was really hard to be a girl's girl. It was really hard to be on women's side, because I was secretly jealous of all these women that were outgoing and confident and happy and peaceful and just loved who they are. And so I was like, I want to hype any woman up. I want everyone to win. I want everyone to feel confident. I want everyone to feel beautiful, because we literally all are. And I had to stop comparing myself, and I had to stop telling myself that I'm not enough. And I had to start learning how to heal this relationship with myself, because who I really am is who I am right now. And I've always been this way. So if you're listening to this right now and you feel insecure and you feel like honestly, I felt like I hated myself. I wish that I could be in anybody else's body but my own, especially anybody else's mind, because my mind was so negative. My self-talk was so abusive, right? Like we always talk about abuse when it comes to relationships, and we talk about abuse when it comes to maybe like drinking a little bit too much, right, or whatever it may be. But your negative self-talk is abuse. You are abusing yourself. And I want to let you know that that is not you. That voice is not who you really are. That is the voice of the programmings that you have absorbed from your life experience. That is the voice of your trauma, and that is not who you really are. And I also want to let you know that if you're listening to this and you feel this way about yourself, your true self has always been with you. It's not something that you have to find. It's something that you have to allow to be expressed. It's always been here, but it's kind of like you're saying, go to sleep, because you know that if you were to be your authentic self, you fear what comes with that. You fear the judgment, you fear the criticism, you fear what people are going to say, you fear what if, I get rejected or whatever it may be. You don't feel like your true self is enough. And so over time, subconsciously, this is all trauma and this is all subconscious. So it's not you, it's not your fault. But at the same time, this is the current situation, right? This is the current situation. It's 4:44 right now as I'm recording this. I love that so freaking much because I have chills all over my body. This is something's coming through me right now. But now I lost my train of thought. But I just promise you that it is so possible to have this relationship with yourself where you accept yourself as who you are. You feel like you are enough as who you are, right? And I can share pictures on my Instagram or at some point of how in my freshman year of college, I gained so much weight because I didn't love myself. I was, using food to kind of like fill these emotional voids, and I was drinking a lot because there was so much trauma and other things that were going on. Even though I left and went to college, there was a lot of stuff going on at home at the time. And my parents also struggled with alcohol and everything. So I was drinking a lot and, writing it off as like, oh, I'm in college. And I was eating a lot and I ended up gaining so much weight. And it was the result of not loving myself and not having this relationship with myself where I genuinely valued myself enough to have habits as far as eating and taking care of myself and honoring myself and having even just internal boundaries, right? At the time, I was terrified to verbally set boundaries with other people. But internally, I didn't have any boundaries with myself, like no drinking tonight, or no, like, why don't you have a salad with that piece of pizza? Like there was no balance. There was no boundaries that I had with myself. I just didn't care. And so I ended up gaining a lot of weight, and it made me feel even more insecure and more shame. And I just felt like I just kept abandoning myself after years of feeling like I had to basically be the emotional regulator of my parents. I had to grow up really, really fast. I was a very serious person, very opinionated and irritable, codependent, people-pleasing, like literally everything you could possibly think of, this concoction of very low vibrational energy. And so after I made that promise to myself, I really started to evaluate, what is the difference between who I am right now, this version of me that is really hurting basically and is yearning for just so much love. What is the difference between me now and that version of myself that I see in my head? What is the difference? What has that version of me learned? What is that version of me comfortable doing that makes me feel really uncomfortable right now? What are the hard conversations that person has had that has allowed her to set boundaries and have more peace as a result of that? And I started slowly working on myself. I started working on my patience. I started working on saying no. I started working on when I'm supposed to be pouring into myself and I have, a distraction, a temptation, someone else coming in that needs me and needs my attention, and fighting those people-pleasing tendencies to drop literally everything in my life to cater to them. I really had to drop this like savior complex because I had to be the savior for my family. And I realized that that's not my burden to carry anymore. And so now was really the time that I needed to pour into myself. And I did that. It took years. And at the same time, not only was I doing this work on myself, but I was in school for natural medicine, and I started learning about mindset reprogramming and the subconscious and spirituality and consciousness and energy and trauma and chakras and all of these things. And I was like, oh my gosh, it made so much sense. And it made so much sense why I was the way I was, and based on my past. And I also learned that my past doesn't define me, and that the reason why I keep tapping into this version of me is because that's my future self calling me. And I owe it to myself to work on myself, because the results of and the benefits from this transformation are unreal, literally unreal. I can make a whole podcast episode on how amazing my life is at this point because of the amount of work I've done on myself. But and also like how the different kinds of things I attract because I stepped into my power and confidence. But what's really crazy, you guys, is that I made that promise to myself to change and to grow into that version of me. And I knew I could do it. At the time it was the fear of like, what if I don't? Like the fear of doing the transformation and facing these parts of myself, like the fear that I would stay the same in a decade was scary enough for me that I chose to face and sit in my darkness and alchemize all of my pain into power. And so I used that fear and I made that promise to myself. And so on this bachelorette trip that I literally just got back from, one of the women that was there and was with me and around me in college still feels this same exact way. I complimented her thousands of times on this trip. I said she looked hot. I was like, you look so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love this color on you. Like literally any kind of compliment you could ever give a woman, I said it. And her response in return, every single time I complimented, no, I'm not. The lighting's really bad. I'm so chubby. I'm so fat. They genuinely like cannot see themselves. They cannot see the truth because they've been programmed so much throughout their life. And I know a lot about this person, and I know that their mother also has this same like insecure, like very, very high emphasis on the outward appearance and your body and body fat percentage and calorie deficit. Like, and I'm not saying that none of that stuff matters as far as health goes, but this person is like a very fit, active person that eats healthy. She's very healthy. But since she doesn't, have a stomach that's like 2 inches thick, she thinks she's fat. And she was like this in college. And so what is so interesting to me is that I've done the work and I've worked on myself and I've fulfilled that promise I made to myself. Like I'm changing because I don't want to wake up in 10 years and still feel this shitty way about myself. And I saw that reflected outside me. I saw what it looks like after 6 or 7 years and someone still feeling that way. It's almost like I reverted and I teleported back into the past, into college. And she's literally the same person, copy and paste 6 years later. And it's really disheartening and really sad. And this is what my mission is. This is what makes me feel so inspired and so empowered and motivated to talk about these things and to share, and especially for women to open up and be vulnerable in these ways, because I think we all have room to grow. And I think that you owe it to yourself, because this person lives so much in fear. Like I could not tell you the amount of times that, obviously we packed and, brought luggage for these trips and we had like our certain outfits and whatever. But it's like if I wore a bathing suit to go on the boat and I was wearing jean shorts and she was wearing a skirt, she needed to have the jean shorts on because God forbid she didn't have jean shorts on like me. Like it was so crippling, like the anxiety and the fear that this person probably lives in based on like the constant like looking outside themselves to find validation. And then even the fact that they couldn't receive a one compliment, right? Like this is, if you can't receive a compliment, I bet you're not receiving the levels of love that you desire. I bet that you're not receiving the kinds of money that you desire, because your self-worth can increase like 10x when you learn to love yourself. Because now you're vibrating at such a high frequency that you're attracting things of that very frequency. When you're insecure, especially for me, when I was the most insecure, I took anything that came my way because I genuinely didn't think I deserved anything better. That stands for men. When I was insecure, I attracted men that were shitty and basically just saw women as bodies and sexual creatures and didn't care to take care of me or ask me how I'm doing or literally give a shit about my who I am or anything. They just wanted what they wanted and knew they could get it because my walls were down, because I was so insecure, because I didn't think I deserved anything better or could attract anything better. So I took I took that mistreatment. And I have the craziest stories, you guys. The things I would do when I would people please because I didn't love myself are honestly scary. Like if my daughter told me these stories, I would genuinely be terrified for her. And I just think it's so crazy how I know there's so many of this woman out there. I know that there's so many women out there that can't see the innate divine natural beauty that they all have, because they can't even see it within themselves because they look for it outside themselves. They look at other women and how other women laugh or what other women wear or what makes other women attractive, and they try to be that. When in reality, what makes you attractive is so unique to you that I can't replicate that, right? Like when you realize that you are literally 1 in 8 billion people or however many people are on this planet right now, and that you were made perfectly in the divine's image, in source's image, in God's image. Like you literally were made a specific way because you have your own set of unique, beautiful qualities. I genuinely think that if your goal is to fit in and blend in, you're ignoring your own authenticity. You know you're being authentic when nobody else can replicate you. When you would stand on your stake in the ground, then if someone asked you like, oh, be who you are or be them, every single time you'd pick yourself, because you now love yourself so much that you don't want to be anybody else. You honor who you are. You take care of this vessel that God gave you. You recognize that there's so much more to this life than what you look like. And this is the thing, is like, women that are the most insecure value their external appearance the most and at the top, because they don't recognize or see the intangible aspects of them that are so beautiful and so authentic, that they think that their only value lies in their actual body and what they look like. And so this is why a lot of us like compare ourselves. And I just am blown away at how, and I love this friend and I will forever love them. You know, unconditional love to me is, I love you exactly as you are. I will not ask you to change. Like, this is who you are. I accept that and I love you for that. And even if I'm not in your life or whatever it may be. And I genuinely think that there are so many women out there, and especially now that I've been on the other side of this transformation, the peace that I have when I put on a bathing suit and I look in the mirror and I'm, you know, in day 4 of my cycle and I'm bloated and I don't give a shit because I just don't care. I don't care what people perceive me as. I don't care. God forbid someone in their own mind thinks, oh, is she pregnant? I don't care. I'm freaking bloated. That's it. That's it. End of story. I love being a woman. My body changes every freaking month and it fluctuates, and I don't care because I value being a woman. And I value this body, and I don't care what you think because I love me. There's nothing that you can say that's going to shock me or make me feel like, you know what, that's truth about me, because you know what, I know who I am. Like, there's really nothing. I've said the worst freaking things to myself. There's nothing that anyone outside myself can say that would literally jar me or make me think that it's true at this point, because I've gotten to know myself like the back of my own freaking hand. So someone could say something right now and I just know, in my own head, I'd be like, that's not true. Like, I know it's not true. I know me, you don't. So things like compliments, gestures, passive-aggressive comments, whatever it may be, I've learned how to deal and navigate with those and step up for myself and express myself. But I've also learned to just let it roll the fuck right down my back, because I genuinely know it's not true. And I know who I am. And it's okay if you don't. And it's okay if you're so stuck and so determined to misunderstand me that genuinely doesn't bother me anymore. Like, this mindset is so freeing. This relationship with your body is so healing. Like, when you become your own source of love for yourself, you start to make decisions in alignment to who you really are. You start to say, you know what, parents, I don't care what you want from me because I want something different for me. And I'm living my life for me, not for you anymore. Like, the amount of time, the amount of money, the amount of sacrifice, like my own things that I love so much that I sacrificed to rescue other people, to make other people like I was such a people pleaser, you guys, to the point where someone would say something rude in a social setting and I felt like, you know, that person deserves to feel uncomfortable, but I would take that and be like, oh, let me make you feel better about the rude thing you said. You know what I mean? Like, I genuinely know where my boundaries are now and where I will not allow people to cross them. And that's the other thing I've learned throughout this process, is that you show people how they should treat you based on how you treat yourself, based on how you talk about yourself, based on how you show up for yourself, just the routines that you have, your self-care, like all of these things set the bar, set the standard. And when you raise that, you start to realize that the people that you currently keep in your life either can't meet that bar or they do cross it. And you're like, this person truly loves me for who I am. And transforming into this person, like being a insecure woman, a people pleaser, you know, a woman that would fawn and not love herself and kind of just water herself down to make everybody else happy and comfortable. When you are that woman and you are also surrounded by women that are also insecure, just like you, and then you do this transformation, one of two things happens. Those same women will either get on board and love this for you and celebrate you and also start to grow with you, or they will try and subconsciously, because now you're becoming what they wish they could become. And what happens is they start to become jealous of you or think you're faking it, or now they think you're arrogant because all they've known is insecurity. So what happens is a lot of times our relationships can change with people because your friends are used to you shitting on yourself all the time. And now you are admitting that you like a dress, or you're admitting, oh, thank you, you're actually receiving a compliment. Thank you, I received that. They're like, what? You received that? That's crazy, you know? So I have actually something coming for you guys. I am creating a free masterclass. It's going to be called From Pleaser to Power. And we're going to be chatting all about people-pleasing tendencies and confidence and self-love, and exactly what I did to essentially become this version of me. Because I know for a fact, like, this whole online business, entrepreneurship, making TikTok videos, like even just recording myself in a video and posting it online would scare the absolute shit out of my past self that was really unhealed and really insecure. But I needed to grow. I needed to heal. I needed to become this person for myself so that I could unlock the realities, the blessings, the abundance, the relationships that I know I deserve, that I know I'm worthy of. But that version of me could never attract because of the way she was being, because of the way she felt about herself, right? Like, if you want a high caliber man or woman, are you being a high caliber man or woman? Right? Like I always say this to women that say online or say out loud, like, all men suck and fuck men or whatever. It's like, does your dream husband, that high caliber dream man that you always think about, would he love that you're saying that? Like there are certain things that we really need to overcome, belief systems that things that we literally need to rewire in our brain so that we can stand in our power and attract bigger and better things, because we've raised our vibration and stop entertaining these beliefs and these low levels of self-esteem and confidence. We need to do the work so that we can become this for ourselves, because you deserve it. You deserve to see the kinds of things that you can attract, the life that you can live, the opportunities that will come your way when you own all of yourself. Because when you water yourself down and you dim your light, no one sees you. No one sees who you really are. People don't understand you because you're not showing people who you really are, because you have so much fear about that. You've abandoned yourself. You've rejected yourself for so long that you just assume other people will too. And that none of that's true. You've just been living from this program that's so subconscious that it's time to wake up from it and heal and rewrite into a new program that is in alignment to the life and the lifestyle and the reality that you see yourself living. And we're going to be talking all about this in my masterclass. It's going to be free. We're going to go into how people-pleasing behaviors impact you, how you know you're people-pleasing, how to grow confidence, all of these things, how to set boundaries. It's really going from, I want to say rags to riches right now, but it's not a money program. It's really going from this watered down, hiding, suppressing yourself, insecure version of you into confident, trusting yourself, disciplined, excited to wake up every day and be yourself and know who that is and meet them and let them be seen by the world, because that's your purpose. Your purpose is to love yourself. Your purpose is to be here and to express the natural things that are within you. So stay tuned. I'm so freaking excited. If you guys have any questions or any, DM me on Instagram if you want to work with me. I have private coaching options, and I also have readings available right now for you guys as well. But stay tuned for this masterclass. I'm so excited about it. And these podcast episodes are just going to be like this from now on, because this is where I feel the most inspired, when I have something coming right through me and I can record it no matter where I am. Yeah, this is the kind of podcast episodes that you will be seeing that are coming. And I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know, and see you in the next one.